take that we love to do here, which is called the Take for 99, where we give you a very expensive take for a cheap price. And Zach, I'm going to pass over the mic to you to kick us off.
Yeah, Lil. So I'm going to stay in the NFL here. And for anyone who doesn't remember, I actually came down with a little bit of a stomach virus in our first show after the NFL draft. So I wasn't available for that recording. And although I've had the opportunity to talk about some of the moves in the draft, we did our big offseason winners and losers last week, I haven't had the opportunity to talk about the most controversial pick of the draft. And that was Michael Penix going to the Falcons. And Lil, I know you had a take for 99 on this a couple weeks back. I believe it was that show. So I have one as well. And I'm going to talk about this for the first time. And I wanted to talk about Raheem Morris, the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And many people forget that this is actually his second stint as an NFL head coach. You could even technically say it's his third stint because he was the interim coach in Atlanta for a handful of games in 2020 after they moved on from Dan Quinn. But Raheem Morris was named the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers prior to the start of the 2009 season. That's a long time ago. And leading into that first season, the Buccaneers also drafted a quarterback in the first round. His name was Josh Freeman out of Kansas State. And he was a bust. There's no questions about it. And Raheem Morris only lasted in Tampa Bay 3 seasons because of that, in large part because of that draft pick. And the quarterback he drafted, it didn't work out. And I was looking at Raheem Morris's resume since he got fired from Tampa Bay. And listen to this. I'm just going to list it off quickly. He was the Washington defensive backs coach from 2012 to 2014. Then in 2015, he goes to Atlanta. He's the assistant head coach, defensive backs coach, defensive passing game coordinator for a year. Then from 2016 to 2019, he's the assistant head coach in Atlanta. He's the wide receivers coach, and he's the offensive passing game coordinator. Then in 2020, he becomes the Falcons defensive coordinator. Then he goes to the Rams in 2021, becomes their defensive coordinator for 3 years, and now he's the head coach of the Falcons. So he's been waiting 12 years since his last head coaching opportunity, and during that span, he's coached offense, he's coached defense, he's coached so many different things throughout the football coaching staff. He even got an interim head coaching job, and it's a great story. I'm happy for him that 12 years later, he finally gets this opportunity. But I think that experience in Tampa Bay that he had with Josh Freeman 12 years ago is a big reason why he drafted Michael Penix Jr. with the number 8 pick, because there's a lot of intriguing traits about Penix, right? He has the huge arm. He's super accurate. He's a winner. He got his team to the national championship game. But I think that Raheem Morris is nervous as hell that if Kirk Cousins gets hurt again, which is extremely possible, he's 37 years old. He's coming off a torn Achilles. If that were to happen, then the Falcons would be in quarterback purgatory. He'd be in quarterback hell. And I think he got a little bit of PTSD dating back to his days in Tampa Bay and what happened with Josh Freeman. I think he wanted that insurance plan. And I also think the Falcons as an organization are so scarred from their quarterback play that they've had in recent memory that featured Desmond Ridder, who had no business being an NFL starting quarterback. They had a Matt Ryan who was out of his prime, that I think Morris just said, you know what? I know we paid Kirk Cousins a lot of money, but here's the reality. There's a good chance he could get hurt again. He's pretty old. And there's a lot of qualities I like about Michael Penix. I'm not saying that I agreed with the pick. I really didn't like the pick. I don't love the logic, but I'm just trying to think, where is this guy coming from? Like, this was such a wild pick that I was just trying to figure out why he did it. And I think that he just wants a viable insurance policy in case Cousins either gets hurt again or he's just not the same player. We're kind of just assuming, coming off a major injury, that Kirk Cousins is just going to be the same guy last year that was looking awesome and had one of his best seasons ever. But Eli Manning, I remember his tail end years in New York, he wasn't very good. There are a lot of other guys that just as they get older, they're not the same player, especially coming off a major injury. So I think that was the logic Raheem Morris used when he decided to shock the world and draft Michael Penix with that number 8 pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, I talked about that subject a lot. The main reason why, I just didn't like the pick and understand what the logic may be. You was in quarterback purgatory, football purgatory, because when you don't have a quarterback, you're in football purgatory. Since Matt Ryan left, even before he left, his tail end was horrible. So after the Super Bowl, that last couple years, and after he left, you didn't really have that elite quarterback, and it kind of hindered you as a football team. You made all these moves for fancy toys, and you wasn't able to, develop those guys and to make them studs because you didn't have that quarterback. And I could understand why you could be scarred from that, despite trying to understand the logic. Where I have a hard time understanding is the investment in the positional value. There's nothing wrong with having a backup quarterback. There's value in it. If last year has shown us anything, is that you need a valuable backup quarterback, at least, right? When you have all these championship expectations. Joe Burrow went down. Trevor Lawrence went down for a little bit, right? Justin Herbert went down for a little bit. All those injuries, Kirk Cousins went down, right? It's good to have a backup quarterback. However, when we come back to the positional value, the 8th pick of the draft, investing, in a guy who's going to be buried on your bench for 4 years. That's like me getting a Mother's Day gift for my mother that I'm not going to give to her in 4 years. But I just don't like the positional value of taking a backup quarterback with the 8th overall pick. I think it's idiotic, and I would never understand that for the life of me. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead with my take for 99. I'm going to go back into the NBA for this one. Okay, just like I did last week, and now I shall speak. LeBron James is at a crossroads again, similar to how he was back in 2010 when he decided to go to Miami. He's at that point of his career, right? Because we all know that time in 2010 when he left the Cleveland Cavaliers to go to Miami to build his legacy. But now he's at a crossroads to cement his legacy in the NBA with the final act of his career, right? LeBron James has made it clear over the last couple years that he wants to play with his son, Bronny James, right? That's the goal, right? And the Lakers are in position to do that. First of all, Bronny James, salute to him. He had a good NBA combine, right? He's a very undersized combo guard, but has the athleticism, has the quickness, right? He has some intangibles that I think, if he's groomed the right way, he could be, a factor for a team, right? And the Lakers are in position to make that dream a reality, right? They have the number 17 pick and the number 55 pick in the second round. And maybe Bronny falls to 55, or maybe they have to trade up a little bit to get Bronny, right? But the Lakers are also committed to LeBron James and what he wants, right? Dave said, listen, we are committed to building around LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and we are going to adhere to LeBron James to keep him happy, right? Because LeBron James obviously is going to be a free agent. And LeBron James still got game. Don't get it twisted. He's averaging 25 points per game, 7.3 rebounds per game, 8 assists per game, almost averaging a triple-double, okay? And his input is going to be involved in what the Lakers do this offseason. Now, LeBron James, as you are at a crossroads again, do you still want to play with your son? Or is a championship more important to you where you could flip those picks, or they could flip those picks, the Lakers here, for a Donovan Mitchell, for a Trae Young? I remember I seen an interview a couple months ago. LeBron James really boldly said and stated, to be at the top, you have to sacrifice family members. And all the conspiracy theory people was like, oh, shoot. Oh, the Illuminati is real. He talking about sacrificing family members for fame. But now LeBron James has an opportunity to practice what he preaches. Is he going to choose to play with his son and urge the Lakers to draft his son? Or is he going to chase for another championship by trying to use those picks for another player like Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell to give them another opportunity to go on a deep playoff run? My take for 99 cents is that LeBron James, similar to how he was in 2010, is at the same crossroads again. And it's up to him to decide what he wants to do.
I like it, Leel, and I'm actually going to respond to you with a question right back, because there was a significant event that took place over the course of the last 48 hours. I don't know if this had anything to do with why you selected this as your take for 99, but did you make anything of LeBron James sitting courtside in Cleveland the other night for game number 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Cavs and Celtics when, he's eliminated? The Lakers got out in round 1, and all of a sudden he's sitting courtside at another game. That's something you rarely see. Do you have any theories about that, or like why he did that? Because I have one, but since this was your take, I'll throw it over to you first.
Look, I said it publicly a lot of times on this show. LeBron James is a walking PR agent. He never does anything without meaning. Okay, he could be at a presser with a hat on, with a Pacific hat on, a Pacific shirt on. It's for a reason. He's trying to send a message. And the fact that he pulled up to the game is no coincidence, I believe. And I didn't see the actual highlight, but I've heard about it. From what I was told, he waited to a timeout to come and sit down. So I guess he waited for the spotlight to be on him. Folks, that's strategic. Okay, he wants to put public pressure on the Lakers to fall in line with his demands. The question is, what are those demands? Is it to draft his son? Is it to flex those picks for another player? What is LeBron James trying to say to the Lakers front office? Okay, and I think if you're the Lakers and you're the front office, you should be preparing for life without LeBron James. Okay, because, what if another team, and this is where things really get interesting, what if another team makes a power play and draft Bronny James for the simple fact of luring LeBron James over there? What do you do if you're the Lakers? Allow LeBron James to walk? Okay. But at the same time, if you're the Lakers, you probably should trade LeBron James to get something back for him, and probably should blow up Anthony Davis and LeBron James. But we all know in LA, that big market, they are allergic to the rebuild. They want stars. So I think they're going to adhere to what LeBron James wants to do, because his free agency holds the cards. But the question, and it goes back into my take, what does he want to do? Is it play with his son, or try to compete for another championship to cement his individual legacy?
So I think it's a good point. And in LeBron's mind, I think that he thinks it's capable for him to do both, for him to stay in LA with his son that gets drafted and also compete for a championship. I don't know if that's possible, but I'll say this, Lil. I agree. I think he went to that game in Cleveland because he wanted to tell the Lakers, look, there's a real chance I could leave. If you don't meet my demands when it comes to drafting my son, I'd love to go back home to Cleveland. I did it once before. Why not do it again? And I do think ultimately the Lakers will draft Bronny James. Like I thought about that scenario brought up, like, oh, would another team do that and pick his son? But the thing about Bronny James, here's the dirty little secret about him. And you guys know, like, I'm a huge college basketball fan. I follow this stuff.
Yes, you are.
If Bronny James was not LeBron's son, he would have no business being drafted in the top 60 picks. He would probably still be in school, and we wouldn't ever be talking about him. I'm not trying to throw the kid under the bus. I'm sure he's a phenomenal young man, and maybe one day he will be good enough to play in the NBA. But he averaged like 4 points a game on a pretty bad USC team, and he didn't even start for them. Like, if he wasn't LeBron James's kid, he would not be drafted. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, I think LeBron has so much power around the Lakers and around the NBA that he's going to pull some strings, and it's going to happen. And, that's something that happens in a lot of places around the country, not only in the NBA, but many work environments. Like, if your dad or a family member is a prominent figure, then that's most likely going to help you secure the role. It's called nepotism. Like, we see it all around. But I do think that Bronny's going to end up a Laker. Here's another thing, Will, that you didn't even mention that I think is interesting. The Lakers need a head coach right now. And everything I hear is that LeBron James, he really wants them to hire JJ Redick, his podcast buddy, who has no experience coaching at all. And I personally think that would be an abject disaster. I think it would blow up in their face hiring someone, if you're trying to win a championship, that has zero coaching experience. And trust me, I thought they made the right move moving on from Darvin Ham. I thought he was a big reason why they lost that Nuggets series. But there are plenty of other better candidates out there than LeBron's podcast buddy, JJ Redick. But we know the Lakers are committed to LeBron. They want him to stay. LeBron wants to stay in LA. So I think that when it's all said and done, Bronny James is going to be a Laker. The Lakers coach is going to be JJ Redick. LeBron's going to stay in LA. We know he likes being there. He has a lot of business ventures out there in LA. And I think the Lakers, this situation is going to blow up in their face because they're just straight up bowing down to LeBron's commands. And although that's worked in the past, I don't think it's going to work here.
Bow down to the king. That's what the Lakers are doing. And the last point I'm going to make, because I do agree with your sentiment on Bronny. Like, I just think he's a little bit overrated. And that's mainly because of, we all know why he's getting the time of day because of who his father is. But I think for me, I'm just trying to picture the Lakers outside post LeBron James. How that's going to look like. I don't think it's looking too good. Post LeBron James Lakers, Dujanae, I know you're watching the show. See you commenting. I know you're a Lakers fan. Could you explain to me your vision of how the Lakers are going to look like post LeBron James? Because that's the normal thing, with a team like LeBron. When he leaves your organization is no longer what it is when he came there. It's a mess. Fortunately for Miami, they're Miami. They have one of the best, people at the top of all time in Pat Riley. So they're going to be able to draft well. They have a good coach that can get the best out of young guys, and they're able to build a contender back quickly. The Cleveland Cavaliers was able to, trade for Donovan Mitchell, who ironically may be leaving. So we'll see how the Cleveland Cavaliers going to look outside of Donovan Mitchell. Okay. When LeBron James leaves your organization, he doesn't leave it the same way he left it or came to it, and we'll see how the Lakers look post LeBron James. I know my guy Dujanae just commented. Yep. Zach, you wanna?
If you're trying to win a championship, bro, you cannot hire someone whose only experience is podcasting and breaking down plays. Like, that's not how this works, man. Like, I know you want to make LeBron happy, but I agree with Dujanae. That would blow up in their face. But hey, Jeannie Buss, she's familiar with those kind of moves. So I low key think this, and maybe I'm just gonna say this. I think the Lakers and the way they're run is on the same tier as the worst of the Dolan Knicks, like back, 5-6 years ago before Thibodeau came in, and they just have better PR around them because they had Kobe Bryant, like they've gotten LeBron James, they were able to attract stars. But I think when we talk about some of the worst run franchises in all of sports,
yeah, I agree with that.
The Lakers should be near the top of that list, but they've won a couple championships, so we don't like to talk about them, but I think they deserve a spot at that team.
Yeah, I mean, they had a championship team, and they literally broke up the roster that won in the championship in the bubble. Like, make sense.
Russell Westbrook.
Okay, and we all knew that wasn't going to work. A lot of people were saying it wasn't going to work, and they still made that move. The Lakers need to get their soul back from LeBron James. Otherwise, they're going to be a mess post LeBron James. And Zach, that wraps up another episode of 99 Pod, and it was a good one. It was a loaded one. The NFL schedule was about to drop. The NBA playoffs are on. I'm about to get going. Zach, looking forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Always a great time, my man. Have a good night.